The exam hall doors are sealed, and the names pinned to the notice board are printed in black and red. Thousands of young graduates line up in Guangdong, each one searching for their chance at a secure government post. Then the whisper spreads. If your degree came from anywhere outside the mainland, your name isn't even on the list. Harvard, Cambridge, Berkeley, Singapore, none of it matters. The fast track into provincial government has been rewritten, and for the first time it draws a hard line. Only Chinese degrees count. Shandong follows in lockstep. Its 2025 cadre program once welcomed returnees, but the latest posting makes the change explicit. No overseas diplomas in the regular track. Students who spent years abroad, who fought through language barriers and poured family savings into tuition, now discover that the door they dreamed of walking through has been slammed shut. And not with debate, not with gradual change, but with a notice slipped onto a provincial website. The policy lands in an economy already fraying. Youth unemployment spiked above 20% in 2023 before Beijing stopped publishing the old measure. Even after revising the method, removing students from the count, the number still hovered at 14.5% by mid-2025. That translates into millions of educated 20-somethings without steady work, a generation chasing too few chairs in a game that's speeding up every year. Into that crowded race, two provinces announced that one entire category of graduates will not be allowed to compete. The backdrop is expansion. This year, 12.22 million Chinese students graduate from universities. Another record. In just 2 years, the system added more than 500,000 new entrants. Each one comes armed with degrees, expectations, and family sacrifices. Each one is squeezed into a labor market where even a domestic diploma no longer guarantees white-collar work. When the oversupply is this large, any official narrowing of opportunity ricochets across the entire pyramid of choice. But provincial postings are only part of the picture. A very different message came from Beijing in July 2025. To steady employment, the State Council offered 1,500 yuan subsidies for every unemployed youth hired on a proper contract. Refunds of unemployment insurance contributions rose sharply for small firms, with larger firms also rewarded. In effect, the central government is paying companies to take a chance on young workers. Yet while the center is loosening incentives, local governments are tightening filters. That contradiction is not an oversight. It reflects two competing logics moving in parallel. Corporate voices add another layer. At Gree Electric, CEO Dong Mingzhu told investors she prefers to recruit only from domestic universities, warning that returnees can carry risks. The remarks were not meant for a public stage, but when leaked they provoked outrage from alumni networks abroad. Dong stood firm. She reminded her audience that Gree employs 10,000 researchers, all trained at Chinese institutions, and that innovation comes from trusting people rooted at home. For her critics, the statement smacked of discrimination. For her defenders, it was realism. The debate highlights how one company's philosophy can crystallize into a wider mood. For years, returnees were coveted. Companies would pay premiums even for graduates of second-tier Western schools, sometimes overlooking China's own 985 and 211 elite universities. That hierarchy is inverting. Surveys from 2023 showed returnees reporting starting salaries a quarter below what they expected, with actual pay packets falling nearly $9,000 compared to 3 years earlier. Employers no longer attach automatic prestige to a foreign diploma. Unless it is from a global top 50 university, the credential may now be discounted. Families, watching closely, are recalibrating. More parents are steering children toward Asian universities with lower costs, or keeping them inside China entirely. The calculation is cold. If a foreign education no longer commands a wage premium or secures a path into state institutions, then the expense is irrational. The symbolic capital once attached to studying abroad erodes quickly when provincial governments circulate lists that erase overseas degrees from eligibility. And this shift is not whispered rumor, it is codified in official recruitment announcements. Yet here lies the contradiction spike. Only a few years ago, China's Thousand Talents Plan was offering 1 million yuan bonuses and research grants to lure overseas scientists home. State ministries still scout for chip designers, AI engineers, and quantitative researchers trained abroad. In some sectors, being foreign educated remains the golden ticket. At the very moment provincial governments are closing doors, the central government is prying others open. The system is speaking with two voices, one of caution, one of hunger. That flip forces the deeper question. Who benefits when returnees are shut out of the civil service track? The answer is not obvious. Some will be lost entirely, trapped between rising tuition bills abroad and narrowed prospects at home. Others will be caught by private capital. Quant funds in Shanghai and Shenzhen are already recruiting aggressively from U.S. campuses, taking advantage of visa uncertainty to snap up math and computer science talent. What the provinces push away, firms competing in global markets are eager to claim. The talent does not vanish, it is redirected. The international environment tightens the screw. In May 2025, the U.S. State Department announced it would more aggressively revoke Chinese student visas in critical fields like advanced engineering and AI. For Chinese families, the signal is mixed and dangerous. The host country may close the door mid-degree, while the home country may devalue the diploma when you return. This double squeeze reshapes behavior upstream. More students choose domestic postgraduate programs, not for academic reasons, but to preserve eligibility for government careers. The consequences ripple backward through entire educational trajectories. Meanwhile, the demand for state jobs only grows. In late 2024, 3.4 million people sat for the National Civil Service exam, a record. Government posts are stable, carry pensions, and buffer against economic shocks. If provincial lists restrict access to domestic universities, then the competition at those universities intensifies further. For overseas graduates, the return on investment looks bleaker by the day. The very programs designed to stabilize youth employment are being filtered in ways that undercut a once popular strategy of sending children abroad. The wage market adds its own pressure. Reports from 2024 and 2025 showed white-collar entry pay sliding so low that it converged with earnings in blue-collar sectors. For many families, that was unthinkable. They had invested in degrees precisely to avoid such convergence. When an expensive overseas master's no longer guarantees a salary above a factory wage, the economic logic of foreign study collapses. The data forces a reset. Prestige without pay is prestige in name only. Security concerns deepen the divide. Sensitive industries, especially state-owned enterprises in energy, finance, and technology, often view foreign ties with suspicion. Some postings explicitly require no foreign permanent residency, a rule that automatically screens out many returnees. Others quietly apply degree origin filters. In these sectors, the justification is national security. But once such rules become normalized in politics and defense, they can bleed into civilian hiring as well, altering expectations even in firms with no security mandate. Yet, the hiring subsidies remain. A company that recruits a young returnee can still collect government cash, provided the contract and insurance conditions are met. For firms in competitive markets, those incentives cut against prejudice. Rejecting a capable candidate because of a foreign diploma now carries an opportunity cost. The state is essentially paying companies to defy bias. Whether that payment is enough to overcome caution is the live experiment. The narrative looks one-sided until you account for capability. China's universities have risen dramatically in global rankings. DeepSeek, the AI program built by a team of domestic graduates at Zhejiang and other top schools, demonstrated that local talent can produce frontier innovation at a fraction of U.S. costs. That achievement feeds the argument that the country no longer needs to depend on returnees. If a small team of local graduates can challenge ChatGPT, why pay premiums for foreign-educated hires? The reasoning is circular, but in boardrooms it carries weight. Families face the consequences most directly. They must decide not only where to educate their children, but which gate those children are meant to pass through afterward. A domestic master's degree may secure eligibility for government careers. A foreign master's may enhance skills but close political doors. In a labor market of 12.22 million graduates, those calculations are made with ruthless pragmatism. The prestige of a foreign degree is no longer symbolic capital. It is a liability in some sectors, an asset in others. The irony is that the very act of narrowing political pathways may raise the market value of returnees in the private sector. When fewer graduates choose foreign study, the pool shrinks, and those with top-tier global training become rarer. For firms competing globally, scarcity drives premium. In other words, the more provinces close doors, the more valuable the remaining returnees become to companies operating beyond China's borders. A policy meant to prioritize domestic talent may inadvertently bid up the worth of exactly those it excludes. By the end, what emerges is not a single verdict, but a layered system. Local governments harden their intake rules. Central ministries dangle subsidies. Companies vacillate between security concerns and market need. Families redraw their maps of risk. The hypothesis that top Chinese companies and local governments refuse to hire grads of foreign universities is only partly borne out. In some corridors, it is undeniably true. In others, it is contradicted by policy, by incentive, by hunger for scarce skills. The contradiction is not an error, it is the strategy. China once launched the 1,000 Talents Plan to counter brain drain, offering wealth and labs to overseas scientists. Today, the same system bars foreign-trained graduates from applying to local government jobs. The story circles back on itself. What was once a program to bring the outside world in has become a program to keep it out. And yet, by tightening one set of gates, the system may have raised the value of those who slip through another. In a nation producing 12 million graduates a year, the question is no longer whether a foreign degree matters. The question is where, in a landscape of sealed and open doors, that degree can still unlock the future. We're glad you're enjoying this video. Please like and subscribe. Check out another video that is now on your screen.